Warning before the video begins, my voice sounds deeper, like more deeper than usual, and that's gonna happen for like most of the episode. It's also gonna sound like quieter, cause yeah. Otherwise, enjoy! Welcome to the parody where we tally up the victims in all our favorite movies. I'm Justine. Today we're looking at Crisis, released in 2019. Crisis is another Wholesale Ryan 56 film for the cinematic universe. This film is basically Rattle Part 1 before Rattle Part 1, serving as both the start of the Rattle arc and technically the Blind Justice arc. It serves as basically an introduction to Rattle's world. And also, like, how did Rattle get into the Rattle we know? It also has where they come from and how this basically mega corporation has affected everyone in the long run. That mega corporation, being the SCP. Obviously being ran by one Charles Black. One of the most supremely evil people in the franchise. And also, flashing lights warning, just basically in general for the whole video, so you might want to skip out on this one. So, anyways, let's see how many people this company affected in a negative way until they died. The movie begins with a warning saying that yes, there will be fast flashing images and lights. Outside of that is the ether where this thing is just hanging out. This entity decides that it doesn't want to be here anymore and makes its way to late 40s South Carolina, where it makes its way above two humans on a hike. It's actually making its way to the home of Ernest and Tanya Simone. Tanya decides that she'll go check it out. She doesn't notice in time, so it just flies her up into the air. Hey, it let her down, but, you know, that's only just to get in her belly. Her belly is containing that, you know, baby they're having. This film is part of this tradition to have the logo after an opening scene. It's kind of like what Marvel did with Endgame. After the opening scene, we see some stuff on a whiteboard. And all that stuff, it even has, you know, our usual thing. A recorder. I guess I can record that to the car! The recorder is playing a recording from Cyrus. On the recording is basically like a eulogy or something. And you know, he doesn't want society's pity anymore. If only we had met your father, I could have added him to that count. But no, he only had to listen to Harry Truman's political war announcement on Soviet Russia. This also keeps up his tradition of having voice acting in his films.
If we falter in our leadership, we may endanger the peace of the world, and we shall surely endanger the welfare of this nation. Great responsibilities have been placed upon us by the swift movement of events.
This allowed working for, you know, the SCP, where they had performed tests on Ernest. The guy running this all is Charles Black. He's just here to meet him up face to face. He's here so, you know, he can put in notes on Ernest and you know, be part of this revolutionary movement. This is our first enhancement of humans genetically. Charles had been studying genetics and psychology for some time, but, you know, he gets to run it all under this place. Cyrus had worked out all the kinks on increased intelligence, strength, and stamina. But, you know, begin the experiment already. Although it does come with symptoms such as small pinches and chests. Of course, he shouldn't be able to feel any heart rate spikes, and, you know, the serum will just have to feel a tingling sensation. So they inject it into his arm. It kicks in with F-bombs and moans. He tries to cover up the obvious pain by saying it's from his chest. But then he says he can feel the serum running through his blood. And of course they had to grab it on camera. They didn't expect his eyes and mouth to glow, however, and he just starts shaking. Scientist number 2 knows what's going on. His heart rate is spiking. Cyrus tells everybody to go away from him and give him some space. And also says that his body is just adjusting to the serum. It did give him the strength of breaking out of his constraints. He's fine, however. So obviously, while it did have some problems, it was a success. But Charles needs some better stuff, like, you know, not to break out of his restraints. They gotta get him to the observation room room, however, because they still got more tests to do. Hey, they even got the warden here. Hope he didn't come from underground. And like with last time, they also gotta film this one. This test is to see if he can break glass objects with his voice. And this one is also a success. He just did it with ease. Give him another round of applause for success. But soon after that test, they gave birth to Rattle, aka Nia Simone. Since it goes better here and with Rattle Part 1 and soon Rattle Part 2, I'll just call her Nia for these ones, but for films that feature that are not these, I'll just call her Rattle. The third experiment they're having is seeing if he could Hulk smash. Yup, he can, although he's just holding up a couch right now. Success number 3, here's another one! Ernest was ready for action, and they were just about to have Serum X for mass production, but it did come with one fatal flaw. The adult body could not withstand to exposure from Serum X over time, and because of that, Ernest died of cardiac arrest. It was truly devastating for everybody involved, especially Tanya. Because of the death of her dearest love, Ernest, she then soon resigned from the SCP. And when they tried to cover up the death, she just exposed them. And it went really downhill from there on out. He just dragged her in there just so he could just tell her that he doesn't like her. And just so she could rebut and says she doesn't like her back. But, you know, he can't have her ruining their public image. Tanya tells Charles to give her daughter back. However, Cyrus has developed a fear, and because of that, Neil will be the first of many new people. So, you know, he just orders this other guy just to shoot her to death. Oh, God, so ruthless. Oh, it's devastating. And they even did that in front of her 2-month-old child who's now an orphan. However, he just orders this guy to take the baby to the laboratory. So, you know, this guy's just evil. Studies even show that children could better withstand the serum long term. And as they dispose of her body, he says that all sense of morality had gone out the window. They had kidnapped many children from across the nation and gave them a home here, as shown as he gives some SCP recognition to this kid in a box, which then transitions into all these guys who we'll see later. So many kids who had been basically like kidnapped and sent here. Cyrus ends off the film by saying it was just a start to all of it and saying that he was a monster. Hey Charles, guess what? Only 2 people died in Crisis, with the victims consisting of 1 man and 1 woman. Huh, seems like that pie chart's a bit more even than I expected. And compared to other Time Heroes films, not including The Dark Knight Genesis, this one has the least, compared to Ember's 25. That's kind of nice. With a runtime of 30 minutes, that left us with a kill on average every 15 minutes even. Aim of his flamethrower will actually go to both of this film's kills. They're both so devastating, and I might give the edge to Tanya at some point, but they're basically dead even for me. So that obviously means no broken pistol. And that's it. Crisis was released in 2019 and only has Rattle Part 1 to accompany it, which I'll look at next week. But until then, I'm not that other guy. No, not the guy who I named in the description. And this has been the parody. So, thanks for watching this parody. This was actually one of the easier ones to record, since this one was only half an hour long and it didn't have that many bodies to, you know, get account of. Ha! So, what was I saying again at this point in time? Oh, yeah. Thanks for watching!